Are you really in full control of your brain?
Let go of that fear, that phobia. No.
I literally didn't even think of that.
My name's Dr. Jack Lewis. I'm a neuroscientist and I am on a journey to meet people with incredible brains.
Your brain is extraordinary.
With the help of magician Pete Heat, I want to explore the most vital of our vital organs.
I've got my teenage brain back. No. What?
Coming up, how much are we being manipulated every time we go shopping?
It's the best measure of visual attention. It'll tell you exactly what people are fixating on.
How can hypnosis help us to overcome our deepest fears?
You take the first step.
With any luck, you've just been persuaded to keep watching.
Join me to uncover the secrets of the brain.
Do you feel like you're in full control of your own brain? Do you feel like you're hard to persuade? Well, during the opening of the show, did you feel strangely hungry by any chance? Or maybe a bit more excited than usual? If you did, that's exactly what we were hoping for. We use the colour red to bookend each clip. And in theory, red, more than any other colour, should increase your heart rate and create a sense of urgency. As a neuroscientist, I know that the key to all persuasion is tapping into subconscious thought. The concept that we have an iron grip on our ideas, thoughts, and mental states is pure fiction. But just how persuadable can we be?
The things that we're consciously aware of, we can decide how we let those things affect our brain. But a lot of messages can get through to the subconscious part of our brain without us necessarily realising it. So we actually have almost a gatekeeper system for our subconscious. When that's distracted, messages can get into the deeper parts of our brain.
Now that's one theory, but this is a topic of great debate and the jury's still out. However, there's one technique that researchers think could hold the key. It's something that I've never believed in or understood.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I really don't believe in hypnotism. And I don't think I'm alone. I think most of us see it as a stage show. You get a charismatic performer, you get a few stooges who are willing to play along, or at least are gullible enough to fall for it, a bit of smoke and mirrors, and there you have it. A spectacle people are happy to pay for, and a performer who delivers the goods. Now, I'm open-minded. I'm willing to be convinced to the contrary. But right now, in my heart of hearts, I just don't think there's any hard science to back it up.
Carl Smith is a former soldier, police officer, and now professional hypnotist. He has a very personal reason for trusting this controversial technique.
I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, so hypnosis changed my life substantially.
It all began one night 12 years ago.
Carl, how did you get into this?
I got run over by a drink driver. The weird thing about this is that I had plaster casts, I came out of hospital, but the only way that I could actually manage myself was through tramadol, pregabalin, Jack Daniels. The thing is that a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, came along and he basically said, do you want to do some hypnosis? So I'm sitting there like, going, whatever, woo-woo, whatever, go away. This guy came along and hypnotised me. It allows clarity to allow you to get rid of any bad, negative emotions and stuff. And that's exactly what happened that day.
Carl used hypnosis on himself on a daily basis to overcome the pain of his injuries and to deal with the post-traumatic stress he was coping with. Both he and the medical team started to notice a remarkable upturn in his recovery. Carl's world changed forever, and he decided to learn how to practice hypnosis on others.
So that sorted you out, got you out of the hole you were in.
Yeah.
But then you decided to practice hypnosis yourself.
Yep.
So clearly someone taught you how to hypnotise, right? You didn't just make it up.
Carl has gone on to become a renowned hypnotist, working with the police, firefighters, and the military, and he specialises in post-traumatic stress. He's also on standby to provide emergency medical hypnosis for victims of traffic accidents and violent crimes. Carl deeply believes in the power of hypnosis. But here's the big test. can he hypnotize a skeptic like me?
A simple way of doing it is, let's try this. If you place your hand on the table for me, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to focus on the back of your hand. Keep focused on the back of your hand now. And as you focus, I just want you to imagine now, only now, what it feels like for your hand to become heavier and heavier. I want you to imagine what it feels like for your hand to stick to that table. But just also imagine a heavy weight being placed on the top of your hand. Can you notice it?
Even as I listen to every word Carl says, I'm still extremely doubtful this will work.
Just imagine now, only imagine now, that if you tried to lift your hand, you'll notice the heaviness creeping into your arm. Just notice it now as you just allow that sensation to go all the way through, all the way into your arm.
That's weird, I don't like it.
There you go.
I literally cannot lift my hand off the table no matter how hard I try.
Oh, I was determined that you weren't going to be able to do this.
Exactly.
That's really annoying.
So what's going to happen now is that, just imagine now that the more you try and pull it up, the more it goes up your arm now. There you go. And the more you resist it, the more deeper you go now.
I'm trying to break the spell and it's not working. I still can't lift my hand up.
I can't believe it. It actually works.
I have hypnosis. So anything that I say now is going to be truthful to you. You know, you're going to take on these suggestions I take.
I was such a skeptic, but I can't.
Just imagine now that all that glue's fading away. There you go. Just imagine that weight fading off now. There you go. And your hand will come off now.
What? That's ridiculous. Do you know what was weird? I felt like it was stuck before you even started. Like, because I kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah. And it's part of being a hypnotist. But prior to the ritualistic thing that you just witnessed, prior to that, there is things that happen prior to that.
I'm shocked because we're so used to believing that we're the ones in control of our thoughts and particularly our actions. We humans have immensely expanded frontal lobes, far bigger than any other species of our size. This part of our brain, immediately behind our foreheads, performs a number of tasks known collectively as executive functions. They balance what's going on in the outside world with our internal needs, deciding what to do, how and when.
So executive functions relate to a number of top-down skills that your brain might employ to modulate your behaviour. You might plan, for instance, or you might try to inhibit certain behaviours.
Executive function is the ability to stay on a task and manipulate the bits of information you need to get to an answer. The two key components of executive function are working memory and the central executive. One way to think about this is it's a bit like the RAM and the processor of a computer. The working memory is the RAM and the central executive is the processor.
This is the core of what most of us think thinking is. Making plans, weighing options, and deciding on action. But Carl appears to have hacked my executive functions, gaining control over them and persuading me to follow his instructions.
Hypnosis. I was deeply skeptical. But what I want to know is, as a scientist and a skeptic...
Are you a skeptic now?
No, but what I want to understand is it the pattern of your voice? Is it the tone of your voice? Particularly now. That's the one that caught me, that word. Now, now. Is there something special about that word?
You can't walk up to a member of the street and just grab them and go sleep and they're going to go into hypnosis. There has to be this negotiation with your subconscious. There's a little firewall that we've got to breach, which is, you know, just me just talking to people. I'm well known for fast speech patterns, so it doesn't really matter how fast I talk, because the brain's working at the speed of light and I'm working at the speed of sound. So everything that I say is going to draw people in.
Uh-oh, bad science alert. I know for a fact that what Carl is saying about the brain working at the speed of light is absolute nonsense. Despite witnessing hypnotism on a daily basis, he clearly needs help to discover the actual science that makes it work.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Because I'm a skeptic, when I hear people say things like your brain's thinking at the speed of light, but I'm talking at the speed of sound, I know that that's factually untrue. But with you, I was still under the spell. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be open to the possibility that hypnosis can work if you let it take over you. That felt really weird. I am utterly flabbergasted that I am hypnotizable, because I genuinely didn't believe in hypnosis at all. I'd seen it on telly, I'd seen it on shows. I kind of felt like people were just playing along. But now the idea that you can suggest things to people's subconscious and you can persuade them of things they didn't previously believe, it's possible.
Now, that little bit more open-minded, I'm going to explore the hard neuroscience of persuasion and see how it connects to hypnosis.
So historically, people have been quite skeptical of using hypnosis in neuroscience, but now more and more researchers are coming around to the idea because it's quite an interesting tool to change a mental state.
Coming up, I've arranged for Carl to meet one of the leading cognitive researchers in this field to find out what's really going on.
So maybe we can move beyond the scepticism about people's reports when they've had a hypnotic suggestion.
But first, to see how persuasion and hypnosis really work within the brain, we've got to go beyond the neuroscience textbooks. My first thought is that it must work by separating our actions from conscious control. Want to see what I mean? Let's play a little game with Pete. At any moment, objects are going to appear around Pete. See how many you can memorize. How many did you remember? Did you remember the chair? The apple? Bet you didn't remember the Sphinx. The headphones? The shoe? Don't worry if you didn't remember that many. It was a flash test. But you did remember the monkey, right? That's because Pete looked and pointed at it at the exact moment it appeared on the screen. He persuaded you through body language alone to remember that monkey. You may not even have been conscious of the influence, but just a glance from his eyes was enough to affect your memory. But what about your own eyes? Could control of your eye movements be wrestled away from you without you even realizing? You're now looking through my eyes in a busy supermarket, and it seems they're being persuaded to look here, there, and everywhere. Andy Myers works for a neuromarketing firm, and he's fitted me out with an eye tracking device.
It's the best measure of visual attention. It'll tell you exactly what people are fixating on. So we can see by that for exactly what their eyes are looking at, what they're picking up.
One camera films what I'm looking at, and another monitors exactly where my eyeball is pointing. It's revealing just how stimulating a modern store is and what's going on beneath my conscious mind.
So he's got his list, he's off, he's looking at that fresh produce right by the storefront. So stores often put their fresh produce by the front because they know that it activates the brain, puts people into the right sense. So they're already preferentially activated for food. This is my mission, I want to get food.
As I walk the aisles, I feel like I'm just looking for items on my list as I normally would. It's what my executive functions, my prefrontal cortices are focused on. But the eye tracker reveals every last detail that my subconscious mind is exposed to and potentially being persuaded by.
Of course, what eye tracking always shows us is what retailers know, which is the premiumness of having stuff at eye line in the market, because people don't tend to look very high, but stuff hanging from the ceilings.
Marketing companies also know that the colour red will make you feel hungry, and that rhyming words and bold fonts will increase the likelihood that you'll believe a statement.
Okay, so that was right interesting because he didn't even really look at what he was picking up.
All right, Andy.
All right, Jack. How did you get on? Whoa!
I've got everything that was required of me.
You were hungry. There's a lot of fatty things there for your lunchtime.
So, I actually have a specific ban on donuts. How did this particular brand manage to lure me into something I have already forbidden myself against?
You got a lot of clutter in the store, so there was something we could see that really stood out. Right by the entrance, you went straight for it. Brands have got a split second to grab your attention. You know, as soon as you saw green, you saw that fixture.
So is colour that important?
We have split seconds to make decisions, and colour is a really effective way of grabbing our attention, notifying us, linking to these memory structures that we already have that have been built up over a lifetime, and guiding our decision-making behaviour.
So without any conscious thought, just one glimpse of a brand I like was enough to persuade me to head straight for the donuts.
So, the eye-tracking glasses gives you a bit of a handle on the unconscious processes that precede the conscious decision to reach for one product over another.
Yeah, exactly it. It gives us introspection into the unconscious that we wouldn't have otherwise had any access to at all.
Scary.
So, there you have it. Evidence that your brain is making decisions on your behalf every day without much input from your prefrontal cortices. That way, marketeers can get you to do what they want without you even noticing. Later, I'll see how similar techniques work in advertising. But just for a moment, imagine if you put the power of persuasion in the wrong hands. Over to our magical helper, Mr. Pete Heat.
Have you ever been hypnotised before?
No, I haven't.
No? OK. This isn't exactly hypnosis what I'm about to do, but it does use suggestion and like the idea of trying to put thoughts into your head, in the same way that hypnosis does, right? So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to write a number on this pad. OK. 3907 That for any reason mean anything to you? No?
Not at all.
OK, good. Okay, in fact, can I give that to you for a second to hold on to? That's great. OK, now, in a second, I'm going to get you to draw a picture.
Okay.
And something random that I couldn't know you'd draw. So you have an image in your head?
Yes.
Yeah? OK. I want you to draw that for me. Picture that image. OK. Right, and draw now.
Now watch out, you could be hypnotised by Pete too.
And in fact, when you finish, could you write underneath what it is as well? Just to eliminate any doubt. We good?
Yes.
You're done? OK, perfect. Could you show that camera there what you're drawing? I'm going to look away. OK. And then you can bring it back towards yourself. Hopefully, you've actually drawn something that I wanted you to draw from the beginning. So hopefully, so it's not a case of me reading your mind. Hopefully, it's something that I put in your mind to begin with.
Okay.
When I asked you if you recognise that number, if that meant anything to you, 39076, and you said no, right? I wasn't actually trying to put a number into your head. I was actually trying to put a word into your head. Okay. You can tell from your angle, but if we turn that upside down, can you turn that and show the camera next to that? Yeah.
Oh my God. That is insane.
No way.
God, I literally didn't even think of that.
I wasn't really trying to put a number in your head. I was trying to put a word into your head. Can we see? Is that what you did?
Well, I did a high heel shoe.
If we just turn that upside down like that, if I give that back to you.
Oh my goodness. How amazing.
He told me to clear my head, and that's what I did. I didn't even think of the number when I was drawing the globe, but obviously some kind of form of thing was like imprinted into my head. I have no clue.
I think I can be quite easily influenced, yeah. But I try not to be, but I still succumb.
I'm scared now.
Now, whilst Pete was reading minds, we were trying to subliminally alter yours. Did you see any words flash up towards the end of his trick? We often record images we're not even aware of having seen. Do you know what the word said? Now, this word flashed up for only about a 30th of a second, not long enough for you to have consciously registered it. But neuroscientists have found that subliminal threatening words like danger can still be detected by the brain and elicit an immediate fear response.
Now, Pete is going to go a step further and make you say and do things, even if they're completely wrong.
Okay, first up, have a look at the picture Pete's holding. And now, complete the word. Did you think of the word soup? Here's the next picture. And complete the word. Did you think of the word soap by any chance? Pete's just used a technique called priming on you. He used it to influence your subconscious, and he's about to do it again. Listen hard.
Silks, 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 silks.
Okay, what do cows drink? Did you think it's milk? Nope, think again. It's water. Okay, last one. Extend your right hand, hold your palm towards Pete as so, close your fingers and extend your thumb. Now extend your forefinger, form them into a circle and touch it to your chin. Okay, that was your cheek. If you fell for it, don't feel bad. You've just succumbed to the power of persuasion.
Priming, basically, it's much more used by stage hypnotists. To lead you into a state of hypnosis, the hypnotist works to gradually adjust your environment in a way that increases your suggestibility. Part of being hypnotized is being relaxed, and so the hypnotist will over and over again suggest, I want you to feel relaxed, I want you to focus in on my voice, and I want you to do things that you're comfortable doing. All of these in combination increase your likelihood of being hypnotized.
And that's how a lot of Pete's magic works too. Looking back on my meeting with Carl, I can see that he uses a version of priming, preparing my subconscious to be persuaded.
Now. That's the one that caught me, that word. Now, now. Is there something special about that word?
You can't walk up to a member of the street and just grab them and go sleep and they're going to go into hypnosis. There has to be this negotiation with your subconscious.
But how does marketing use this power of persuasive priming? Well, Andy's company doesn't just study the layout of shops, they also study how adverts can persuade us to part with our cash.
We know from neuroscience, more generally, that the unconscious plays the biggest role in our decision-making process. But the problem about the unconscious, you can't ask people about it. We're going to put this on you in a second, and what this is going to do is measure the electrical activity that manifests itself on the scalp that's coming from your brain, okay? And we're interested primarily in a response from the front of your brain here, okay, in the frontal lobes.
Once again, it's the frontal lobes that are key to persuasion. Andy's EEG headset will measure how I respond to watching an advert. If it detects a more powerful signal from the right of my prefrontal cortex, he'll know that I'm repelled by what I see. When it detects a more powerful signal on the left, it means I'm being drawn in. And what advertisers want is to draw us in and prime us to part with our cash. Time for me to watch the ad.
So you've seen the ad now. Was there anything particularly stood out for you about it?
Yeah, I like the scene where the butter, as it's being kind of carved up by the knife, looks like a wave, because I like surfing. So I think of everything I saw there, that's probably what resonated the best with me.
Yeah, maybe we should see how your brain reacted to that.
Good idea.
Andy's EEG data will give a far more scientific measure of what I found interesting and persuasive than my own biased impression of the ad.
Okay, so first of all, we can see that we get, as the ad starts, is you've got this cue. So she snaps her fingers, and there's a cue almost to the ad started, and you can see this significant peak in engagement there, straight on that follows that peak in arousal. So it was almost like you were waiting for something, it was drawing you in for something to start. She snaps her fingers, and the ad is effectively starting.
So as her fingers click, my frontal lobes have given away that I'm being drawn in to the advert, primed and persuaded by it.
So let's see as the ad rolls on. So you can see here that the ad narrative is evolving. And what's really interesting is 2 points. Is your surfing butter that you mentioned to me earlier, which is really interesting because, again, novelty emotion, which we've got here.
So the results have matched some of my memories of watching it live. But what else did the EEG cap detect?
What's really interesting is what comes next. It's building up to that crescendo key shot. Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's the bit that
bites straight into it. And now, what's really interesting about that is this is really visceral. And think about how the brain, yeah, you're driven into that. Yeah, really significant peak in engagement. You're approaching, you're going into it. You want that. This is consistent with what we know from broader neuroscience work, which is that these fatty foods really set our brain on fire. And so that if we can show those elements creatively with the other elements we talked about, using motion, using novelty, we can really put a story together which gives a really interesting narrative for what could be quite a plain product.
Now, whilst Andy is only too aware of how his adverts manipulate your brain, Carl Smith, on the other hand, has never really understood the neuroscience behind another form of brain manipulation, namely hypnotism, despite it being a technique that he uses on an almost daily basis to help other people. But all that is about to change.
So I'm intrigued to find out what they found out about the brain and what actually happens when, as a hypnotherapist, I come in and I help somebody.
Carl's about to meet Dr. William McGowan at the University of Strathclyde, a pioneering neuroscientist who believes that hypnosis has a very real effect that can be picked up on brain scans. Dr. McGowan is not the only researcher to use MRI scans to monitor brain activity in people under hypnosis, but his team were one of the first to ask volunteers to carry out tasks whilst they were in a hypnotic state, and the results were fascinating.
So here we can see the neuroimaging data that people with the hypnotic induction, their brain's active in those colour-sensitive regions. So that's one important finding of this study. We can see that their brain activity patterns reflect that as well.
In the trial, Dr. McGowan asked the volunteers to look at an image with no colour, and then under hypnosis, they were told to imagine the image in colour. Amazingly, the colour-sensitive regions of the brain lit up. It's proof that hypnosis has a direct effect on the brain.
It validates people's claims if they say they can see colour when there's no colour present. Here we're seeing evidence of that in the brain images.
Yeah, you know, it just shows that something is tangible happening within the brain when we're doing it.
What this also suggested to us was that there are some fundamental differences between people that are high in suggestibility and low in suggestibility. Okay. And you've seen that, I'm sure, with your work with pain reduction.
Yeah.
So the deeper someone said that they were in hypnosis, we found that those people had more grey matter within these medial frontal parts of the brain.
Okay, so proof that hypnotism is far more than a stage trick. And some people's brains make them more susceptible to persuasion. But how does hypnosis actually work? Well, remember Pete and his priming. Dr. McGowan was able to reveal brain patterns in his scans that support the theory that hypnosis works by priming the subject to respond more effectively to suggestions. And the scans also showed that hypnotic induction actually decreases activity in the prefrontal cortices. Direct proof that the trance inhibits our executive functions, handing over control to outside influences. A powerful insight for Carl.
I know the power of this stuff. It's great to see this, that we are seeing activity within the brain. That's been great, so thank you.
Despite studying hypnosis and suggestibility, I don't actually have a lot of contact with people that are engaged in practice. So it's interesting for me to learn more about applications of hypnosis.
I didn't understand what was going on in my brain. I didn't understand why I was having the effects. And now, with the research that's being carried out, we can now see the, certain parts of the brains that are firing off, and it's been absolutely immense. It's been great to see, and it validates, everything that I see on a daily basis. It's been brilliant for me.
So, Carl has seen the proof that hypnotism has a measurable effect on the brain. The structure of parts of our prefrontal cortex can leave some of us more open to its suggestion than others. In them, hypnosis seems to work by lowering activity in the frontal areas that we use to exert conscious control. Coming up, now he's got his head around the science, can Carl take on his toughest challenge yet?
Let's go for it.
To cure a crippling phobia of snakes in just a single morning, and teach me the basics of hypnotism. But first, Pete wants to find out how open to persuasion your brain is. Pete's going to convince you to think of 2 different shapes. Now clear your mind and focus on Pete.
I want you to try and create a simple image in your head for me of 2 simple shapes, one inside the other. So for example, a square inside a square. But to make it more random, make both of the shapes different to each other. So try and get an image of the first shape for me now. And then around that, think of the second image. So you should be thinking of 2 shapes. Got that? So you should have 2 simple shapes, one inside the other.
Now, are you thinking of a triangle in a circle? If you were influenced by Pete's hand gestures, and your brain might be highly suggestible, open to priming and persuasion.
There's variation in how suggestible people are. Some people, highly hypnotically suggestible. Some people have low levels of hypnotic suggestibility.
And an individual's level of suggestibility depends upon the environment that they're in. A hypnotist can take advantage of this and manipulating the environment into a comfortable way to lead you through the stages of hypnosis.
So, what have we found out so far? Well, Carl's shown me firsthand the power of hypnotism, and he's been given a valuable insight into what's actually going on inside the brains of the people he hypnotizes. We've uncovered some of the tools of persuasion, especially being primed, and they can be found all around us. But how far can the powers of being primed actually change behavior? Can it make us faster, healthier, or happier? I've rigged up a little experiment to find out. I've come to this bodybuilder's gym. I've got a fitness test for some of the fittest people in town. And I'm channeling my very own internal neuromarketeer. Can I use some pseudoscientific persuasion and a little fizzy water to magically boost their ability?
This is a Batak wall. It's a reaction time test used by athletes to increase their speed of movement and improve their performance. The idea is as soon as one of these targets lights up, have to hit it as quickly as possible. Now you might think that this is much more about body fitness than anything to do with the brain, but will we be able to improve people's performance, persuade them into faster reaction times using just a placebo?
The science behind this is once again linked to the frontal lobes, but the effect is totally different from that of hypnosis. In brain scans, the volunteers under hypnosis showed less activity in parts of their frontal lobes as the trance stopped them from making decisions for themselves. But the scans of people experiencing a placebo effect showed the opposite. Parts of their frontal lobes are working overtime, taking on board the idea that the placebo drug will help them and convincing their bodies to react.
My name's Jack, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
Donna, nice to meet you.
Ali? Ali, pleased to meet you. Behind you is a thing called a Batak wall. And athletes tend to use it to improve their reaction times. We're going to get you to do it after you've had a little sip of a drink I made. So there's a couple of special compounds in here which boost levels of neurotransmitters in two important parts of the brain. One's in the brainstem, it's called the reticular activating system.
Now, just to be clear, all of these brain areas are real, but this is not what's happening. It's nonsense. But I'm hoping it's convincing nonsense so that they're primed and focused by the placebo effect.
So that's what one of these chemicals does. The other affects the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain that stimulates or initiates movements.
I've concocted this supposed performance-enhancing drink using nothing more than food colouring and water. Now, to prime them visually, I've gone for a hot orange colour. As research has shown, for the type of placebo we're going for, it'll work much better than cold blue. Neuro-nonsense safely delivered, my volunteers do a round on the wall without the supposed stimulant.
Okay. Let's go. Not bad. Okay. 49. Strong performance. Ali, 56 in a minute is a really good score.
So with the baseline round completed, it's time to see if my volunteers will be fooled by the placebo energy drink.
So, a glass each. So like I said,
oh my God,
it doesn't really taste of much. Okay, Ali, let's see if this performance-enhancing drink can boost you. You said you're feeling light, so let's see if it's working. Ooh, so nearly. How do you feel about that?
Crazy.
That's extraordinary. An improvement of 10.
So as all our volunteers' scores improved, it seems our placebo has worked.
The second test, yeah, my reaction time was fast, and then my my eyesight was kind of like very much alert.
I did feel quite sort of energetic as well, a lot more than the first time I did it. Second time round.
What about you? Did you feel an impact
Yeah,
of the
I felt
drink?
quicker, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, pressing the buttons.
More alert, so yeah, I think it's working, yeah.
Thank you so much. You've been great competitors in the race of science.
Now, don't worry, we did tell them all the truth eventually. But next, I really want to test one of the weirder aspects of the placebo effect.
Could it be possible that even though I know there's nothing in those drinks, that there is no active component whatsoever, could it conceivably have an impact on my own performance? Let's find out.
Get ready. Go.
So this is the baseline. And I promise you I'm going as fast as I can. Ooh, 74. That's smoking.
Having talked up its supposed benefits all day, as I drink a drink I know to be just water and food colouring, could it be possible for it to affect my own frontal lobe?
Maybe, just maybe, the placebo effect can work all the same. So I've got 74 to beat. Let's see how I do. Yes! 80. That's a significant improvement. Really, it boils down to the art of persuasion in terms of how we can convince ourselves of something, even though we know it isn't really true.
So, there you have it. The power of being primed is extraordinary. It really can make you faster. But can it make you richer? Would you give Pete your cash if he was to prime you to think of some very specific numbers?
Would you describe yourself as quite impressionable? Like, do you watch an advert and instantly rush out and want to buy that thing, or would you describe yourself as more?
Not really.
No. Okay.
I like to research what I'm going for.
Okay, good. Because I'm about to try and influence you in a certain way, so I'm going to try and specifically put a number, or rather some numbers, into your head. We're not going to do hypnosis exactly, but we're going to do something that uses a lot of those principles of trying to put certain thoughts into your head. The wording that I use when I'm talking to you, maybe, or you know, if I'm showing you a big 10, maybe you'd think of it like 1 and a 0. But maybe, you know, that's a random example. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Do you have a phone with a calculator on it?
I do,
yeah. Perfect. Can you type in a random, say a 7-digit number? Okay, but make it random. You don't need to remember it later. So, have you done that? Okay, yeah, good. Okay, and when you're typing there, it just felt like you were just randomly typing, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And can you press the plus key for me? Perfect. And if you could pass it to him, and could you type in a 7-digit number as well? And you know what, and we'll do one more with you. So one more number, and then again, 7 more digits for me. Yeah, we're good? And can you press equals?
Yeah.
So you had a chance to win some money. Basically, if I can't guess the number that you've created between you, then you get to win the money. Does that seem like a good game?
Okay.
Okay, and there's no way I can see what's on that phone, is that right? But you know what, I'm not actually going to try and guess it, because I've actually tried to put a number into your head already without you realising it. So, you know, I was talking about hypnosis, and I was saying random numbers at you, and I was waving this around in your face pretty much the whole time. I was trying to implant a number in your head, and I'll show you what I mean. You see, every banknote has got a serial number on it. Okay. And you see on this note here, so you've got a couple of letters. You've got JJ, then you've got 19801449.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Wow, that's very impressive.
You see the banknotes all have these serial numbers on them there. Okay. Now, there's some letters at the beginning, so we'll ignore the letters at MC. But then after that, you're already looking at that. We've got 3. In fact, can I take that phone? Can we take? So we've got 350-99488. 350-99488. Exactly, every single digit exactly right. If any one of those digits that you typed in had been even slightly different, we would have arrived at a completely different number.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's blown my mind a little bit. That was crazy, wasn't it? I don't know how he done that. I guess he had a way of implanting those numbers that we were typing into the phone.
That was really quite something. I don't have a clue how he would have done that.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah. That's really, I'm quite speechless, actually.
So, coming up, now that I've given Carl an insight into the neuroscience behind hypnosis, will he share with me the secrets of how he does it? Can I become a hypnotist?
So anyone can be a hypnotist if they know how, is that true?
Yes. It takes me 15 minutes to teach somebody to be a hypnotist. It is something you can learn. The 5 stages are the pre-talk. So the pre-talk, we're going to make sure that the client, the subject, know exactly what we're up to. Before, you can't just walk up to somebody, grab them, and expect them to go straight into that hypnotic state. We've then got the induction, which is the ritual part of it. The 3rd stage that we're going to go for is like the deepening process to give them some sense of feeling that something is going on as well. We've then got the suggestion, which is the important part of being a hypnotist, hypnotherapist. And once we've done all that, we're going to bring them out casually with a nice emergence, so bring them out of that altered state. And that's what we're going to do.
Now, before I can get started on my own hypnosis skills, Carl first wants me to see the process in action. 22-year-old Tamar is terrified of snakes, and she's come to Carl for help.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you. Yeah, good to see you. This is Tamar.
Hello there, how are you?
Carl.
Nice to meet you.
Okay then, what is it you would like to achieve out of today?
I want to be able to see a picture of a snake or an actual snake, hopefully.
Let's go for it. Copy me. What I want you to do is rub your hands together. What I want you to do is clasp your hands together like so. What I want you to do is squeeze.
Okay, now this is where I should probably start taking some notes. Carl's using a technique to physically prime Tamar. This outwardly simple induction is very subtle. He's testing her suggestibility by asking her to pretend that she can't control the movements of her own fingers. Now, we know from Dr. McGowan's scans that it's now up to Tamar's own imagination to create that feeling and genuinely not be able to stop her fingers moving together.
I want you to imagine now those magnets going all the way into your fingers. Just imagine them locking your hands together, gluing your hands together, sticking your hands together. And if you just notice now, as your eyes get heavier and deeper, just keep focused. The more you resist, the deeper you go. Now, just imagine your eyes becoming so heavy now. Until your eyes lock together, glue together now.
Step 2. Having primed Tamar into a hypnotic state, in theory, there should be decreased activity in her frontal lobes, leaving her brain open to influence. In this case, a helpful influence that should calm her amygdala, the part of her brain that raises the alarm whenever she thinks about snakes.
What I want you to do now is I just want you to allow yourself just to relax even more now. What I want your subconscious, your powerful subconscious to do now, your amazing subconscious, is to let go of that pressure, that tension that was brought up this morning with that fear, that phobia, now.
Step 3. Having tapped into her unconscious, if Tamar is anything like the rest of the volunteers in Dr. McGowan's study, she should come round from the hypnosis with an entirely new approach to being around snakes.
Can I bring in a little friend? We'll stay at a distance. Coming in the room now.
Okay.
He's kind of curling up in my armpit.
Ooh.
Ready? You take the first step. Ready? You do it. You've taken the step. I'm in front of you. I'm in front of you. Feel how proud you are now. Are you proud?
Yeah.
Only as far as you're comfortable, you're doing really well. So what's that, 12 feet?
Incredibly, Tamar's actually prepared to walk towards the snake that just an hour ago she couldn't even look at.
That's extraordinary. Tamar, when you woke up this morning, did you think it would be possible, given that you're scared of toy snakes, to be this close to a real one?
No, I didn't think it was possible at all.
Yay! Well done.
Thank you.
You smashed it.
I did, I think I did.
You feel okay?
Yeah.
Deep breaths.
Yeah.
You were incredibly brave. Before you went through this experience, did you believe in hypnosis?
No, I didn't think it was going to work.
Well done you. You did extremely well, and well done you, Carl, for getting her as far as you did.
Well done you.
Thank you, Carl, so much.
Enjoy your newfound relationship with snakes.
So, I've gone from hypnotic cynic to reluctant believer. I fooled the public's frontal lobes using placebo drugs. And now comes the final test.
I think I'm ready to practice on a willing participant.
I can't believe I'm actually doing this. I was genuinely so skeptical about hypnosis, and yet the science has convinced me. Our volunteer Emily has been hypnotised several times before, so we know she has a suggestible brain. But the test isn't of her, it's of me.
So, I'm going to put you into a hypnotic state, but really it's going to be you putting yourself into it. So I just want you to put your hands together and rub them very tightly. And then I want you to grip your hand very closely like this, and then put your 4 fingers up like that. I want you to raise them up to above your forehead level, and I want you to stare at your fingertips.
I'm following Carl's technique to the letter. And now that I know all about the neuroscience behind it, I'm fascinated to see if I can get this to work.
You feel yourself descending into a hypnotic trance. The fingers are glued together, the eyelids will be glued together, and you'll fall deeper and deeper into a hypnotic trance. And your feet are stuck to the floor. You can try and release your fingers, but you'll find you can't because they're stuck. Are you trying? Yeah. But you're stuck.
Now for the moment of truth.
But now, after 5, I'm going to release the glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can move, no problem, all over. You feel light and lovely. What?
That's really weird.
Wow.
That's really weird.
Success! I did it! I can't believe it.
Were you just playing along, or could you really not move your hand?
Well, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I felt like it was kind of my decision not to take my hands off the chair.
But you tried and you failed.
But yeah, and then I was like, no, just take them off now. And it was like this other bit of me was going, no, we'll just leave them there, they're fine. And it was weird.
Good job. Anyway, you're back in the room, your body's back to normal, everything's fine, you're healthy, you're happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff, and thank you, Carl.
Well done, Jack.
Nice one.
Well done, you.
Thanks,
well done.
Carl.
Enjoy it.
So, 3, 2, 1. You're back in the room. Well, there you have it. Carl's proven that it's possible to powerfully influence people through their subconscious. Now, of course, the marketing people have known this for absolutely ages. But when it comes to hypnotism, it seems that science is only just catching up. And it surprises me to admit that I too am now a believer.